Your grandmother's kitchen cabinet was a pharmacy, not a metaphor, a working pharmacy with a remedy for almost everything that walked through the door. Number 11 on this list was removed from commercial cough medicine labels in 1989, not because it stopped working, but for reasons that had nothing to do with whether it worked. Number 4 was listed in the United States Pharmacopeia for 140 years. These are 30 of the cures that lived in that cabinet. Every fact on this list has been verified. Number 30. Honey for coughs. Before your grandmother reached for a cough drop or a bottle of Robitussin, she reached for the honey jar. A teaspoon of raw honey, taken slowly, coated the throat and suppressed the cough reflex more effectively than most things on a pharmacy shelf. In 2007, a study published in the Archives of Pediatrics and Adolescent Medicine compared honey directly to dextromethorphan, the active ingredient in most commercial cough medicines for nighttime cough in children. Honey significantly better. Raw honey also generates small amounts of hydrogen peroxide inside the throat as it dissolves, which kills the bacteria that cause sore throats. A jar of honey cost 15 cents during the Depression and costs $3 today. The pharmacology has not changed. Number 29. Garlic for infection. A head of garlic cost 2 cents in 1933, and it sat in every kitchen in America for a reason that went beyond flavor. When a cut started going red and hot, grandmother bruised a clove and pressed it against the wound. When a chest cold settled in, she added raw garlic to everything she cooked and gave it to the sick person on a spoon. Allicin, released when garlic is crushed, has confirmed broad-spectrum antimicrobial activity against bacteria, fungi, and viruses. A 2001 study in Microbes and Infection confirmed allicin directly inhibited MRSA. For the generations before antibiotics were commercially available, garlic on the kitchen wall was the antibiotic. Number 28. Apple cider vinegar for sore throat and digestion. Apple cider vinegar in a Depression-era kitchen treated more conditions than almost any other single ingredient in the cabinet. For a sore throat, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in warm water, gargled every 2 hours, helped kill streptococcal bacteria because of the acidity of acetic acid. For indigestion, a teaspoon in water before meals improved the stomach's acid environment and reduced the bloating and reflux that came with the heavy preserved diet most families ate. A study published in 2009 in the journal Bioscience, Biotechnology, and Biochemistry confirmed that acetic acid in apple cider vinegar significantly improves insulin sensitivity and reduces blood glucose. The jug of vinegar your grandmother kept in the pantry was doing pharmaceutical level work on 3 different conditions simultaneously. Number 27. Baking soda for heartburn and bee stings. Baking soda for heartburn, stings, and oral care. 3 cents a box. That was the price of baking soda, sodium bicarbonate, in 1933, and it did more medicinal work in a Depression household than most things that cost more. A half teaspoon in water neutralized stomach acid and ended heartburn within minutes. A paste on a bee sting drew out the venom's acid component and reduced the swelling. A mouth rinse reduced oral bacteria. Mixed with salt, it served as the toothpaste that kept teeth clean when commercial toothpaste was a luxury. Sodium bicarbonate works by simple, proven chemistry in each of these uses. Your grandmother used it for all of them. Every grandmother in America kept ginger in the kitchen, and almost every one of them knew it for nausea before they knew it for flavor. A piece of fresh ginger grated into hot water with honey. A piece of crystallized ginger kept in a tin for children who got carsick. A cup of strong ginger tea for the morning sickness that accompanied the first months of pregnancy. Gingerol and Shogal, the primary active compounds, work directly on the gastrointestinal tract and on the central nervous system, receptors that regulate nausea. A 2014 meta-analysis in Nutrition Journal Analyzing 12 randomized controlled trials found ginger significantly more effective than placebo for pregnancy nausea, and comparable to vitamin B6, the pharmaceutical recommendation. The ginger your grandmother grated was doing exactly what the clinical trial later confirmed. Number 25. Salt water for wounds and mouth sores. Salt cost almost nothing, and dissolved in warm water, it treated more conditions in the everyday household than most commercial preparations. A warm saltwater rinse 2 or 3 times daily is now the standard recommendation of every dentist and oral surgeon for recovery from dental procedures, for treatment of canker sores, and for management of gum infections. It works because sodium chloride, at concentrations above approximately 0.9%, creates an osmotic environment that dehydrates bacterial cells and prevents them from reproducing. Your grandmother rinsed with salt water after a tooth was pulled, when a mouth sore appeared, or when her gums were inflamed. The dentist gives the same instruction today. Nothing has changed except the framing. Number 24. Mustard plaster for chest congestion. The mustard plaster was one of the most universally practiced remedies in the American household through the first half of the 20th century, and one of the most effective. Dry mustard powder mixed with flour in a 2-to-1 ratio, combined with water into a thick paste, spread on a cloth and placed on the chest for 15 to 20 minutes. The burning sensation on the skin was the mechanism. It brought blood to the surface, increased circulation to the lung tissue beneath, broke up congestion, and induced productive coughing that cleared the airways. Mustard contains allyl isothiocyanate, which causes the vasodilation responsible for the treatment's effectiveness. Grandmother applied it through cloth, never directly on the skin, and timed it carefully. Applied correctly, it was highly effective for bronchitis and the early stages of pneumonia. Number 23. Lemon juice for vitamin C, deficiency and immune support. A lemon cost 2 cents in Depression-era America, and grandmothers who understood its value gave lemon juice in hot water to sick family members throughout the winter months. The reason was both empirical and correct. Vitamin C is essential for immune function, wound healing, and the production of collagen. Diets heavy in preserved and stored food through winter months, the diet most American families ate before refrigeration, are severely deficient in vitamin C. Scurvy, which results from vitamin C deficiency, was not only a sailor's disease. It quietly undermined the health of homebound families in winter. Grandmother's lemon and honey in hot water was vitamin C, supplementation delivered in a form the whole family would accept. Number 22. Oatmeal for skin conditions. Your grandmother did not reach for a cortisone cream when a child developed eczema, a heat rash, or the itching that came with chickenpox. She reached for the oatmeal canister. Colloidal oatmeal, finely ground oat flour, suspended in a warm bath or applied as a paste directly to inflamed skin, reduces itching and inflammation through a mechanism that modern dermatology has confirmed and codified. Avenanthe Remedies polyphenol compounds found in oats inhibit the release of inflammatory cytokines in skin cells. Colloidal oatmeal was approved by the FDA as a skin protectant in 1989 and remains the active ingredient in commercial preparations sold for eczema and skin irritation today. Your grandmother's oatmeal bath was the same treatment that a dermatologist now recommends by product name. Number 21. Cloves for toothache. During the Depression, a single clove pressed into a tooth cavity was the treatment for a toothache when the dentist cost $2 and families did not have $2. The relief was rapid and convincing. Eugenol, the primary active compound in cloves, is a potent natural anesthetic. It blocks the sodium channels in pain-transmitting nerve fibers, preventing them from firing. It is the same compound used in temporary dental fillings and in eugenol-based preparations that dentists apply during root canal procedures today. Eugenol is not just folk medicine, it is used as a pharmaceutical agent in clinical dentistry. Grandmother pressed a clove against the aching molar, and the dentist uses the same compound in a different delivery vehicle. Number 20. Aloe vera for burns. Every grandmother who kept a plant on the kitchen windowsill did it for one reason: burns. Burns from the stove, the oven, the iron, the straightening comb, the steam from a pot. The leaf snapped open, and the clear gel pressed flat against the burned skin gave immediate cooling and prevented the wound from drying and cracking as it healed. A 1995 study in the Journal of the American Academy of Dermatology found aloe vera gel healed first and second-degree burns an average of 9 days faster than standard petroleum gauze dressings. 9 days. The plant on the kitchen windowsill was outperforming the pharmaceutical wound dressing by a margin that a clinical study eventually measured precisely. Your grandmother did not need the study. She had the burns and the plant and the results. Here is what this list is asking you to sit with. Every remedy you have heard so far was practiced by ordinary American women, mothers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers in ordinary American kitchens for generations before any clinical study confirmed it worked. They did not have peer-reviewed journals. They had sick children and a kitchen cabinet and the knowledge that someone before them had passed down. The clinical literature of the last 40 years has done something remarkable. One study at a time, it is confirmed that a significant percentage of what those women knew was pharmacologically accurate. They did not have the vocabulary for the mechanisms. They had the results, and the results were sufficient. Witch hazel was in every American bathroom cabinet through the early and middle 20th century. A bottle of the clear astringent that grandmothers used for cuts, bruises, razor burn, hemorrhoids, varicose veins, and the swollen dark circles that came from too little sleep and too much worry. The active compounds, tannins and gallic acid, tighten tissue on contact, reduce inflammation, and stop minor bleeding. Witch hazel is now a billion-dollar skincare ingredient, sold in everything from toners to baby wipes. The bottle that cost 35 cents in your grandmother's bathroom contains the same active chemistry as the products sold for $12 at the pharmacy today. She was using it correctly for every application. The industry eventually caught up. Number 18. Castor oil for constipation. The castor oil spoon was dreaded in every American household where it was administered, which was most of them. A tablespoon at the first sign of constipation, stomach sluggishness, or what grandmothers called general torpor. The result was reliable and fast. Ricinoleic acid in castor oil binds directly to receptors in the intestinal wall, triggering the muscle contractions that move contents through the bowel. This is a pharmacologically legitimate mechanism. A bottle of castor oil cost 15 cents in 1935 and served the family for months. Modern castor oil costs $8 to $20 for the same compound with the same mechanism and the same unimproved flavor. The grandmother who administered it with grim efficiency was right about the pharmacology. Number 17. Slippery elm for stomach and throat. The powdered inner bark of the slippery elm tree was one of the most trusted items in the kitchen cabinet, a 5-cent bag of powder that mixed with hot water into a thick gel that coated the entire stomach lining and esophagus, soothing ulcers, acid reflux, and sore throats at the same time. It was also made into a thin gruel for infants who could not keep food down. Slippery elm was listed in the United States Pharmacopeia from 1820 to 1960, 140 years of official pharmaceutical recognition. The FDA classified it as a Category 1 safe and effective demulcent in 1986. Your grandmother kept it in the cabinet not because it was fashionable, but because it was reliable. The Pharmacopeia agreed with her for 140 years. Number 16. Elderberry syrup for flu. The mason jar of dark elderberry syrup in the cellar was grandmother's first response to flu season. A tablespoon every few hours at the first sign of fever, chills, or the bone ache that signaled influenza. The berries were harvested from the elder bushes that grew along creek banks and fence rows across rural America, simmered with honey and stored. Modern research has confirmed that compounds in elderberry inhibit neuraminidase, the enzyme flu viruses use to replicate and spread. It is the same mechanism as Tamiflu, which costs $150 a course. A study published in 2004 in the Journal of International Medical Research found elderberry extract reduced influenza duration by an average of 4 days. The jar in the cellar was antiviral medicine. Number 15. Plantain leaf for wounds and stings. The broad-ribbed weed in every yard was grandmother's free wound kit. A leaf chewed briefly and pressed directly on a bee sting reduced the swelling within minutes. Pressed on an infected splinter or a wound getting hot and red, it drew the infection toward the surface. Allantoin and plantain, now synthesized and sold in wound creams for $12 a tube, accelerates wound closure and reduces inflammation. Aucubin and bicoline have confirmed antibacterial activity. Grandmother had the source compound growing in the yard for free, while the pharmaceutical version sells for $12 and delivers the same chemistry in a different form. Number 14. Yarrow to stop bleeding. When a cut bled freely and the wound needed to close quickly, grandmother reached for the dried yarrow she kept in a tin in the kitchen. Fresh leaves in summer, dried in winter. It did not matter. The crushed material packed against the wound slowed the bleeding within minutes and often stopped it entirely. Yarrow contains a chilin, which directly activates platelet aggregation, the body's clotting response. A 2021 clinical trial in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology confirmed yarrow compresses reduced wound bleeding time by 47%. The tin of dried yarrow in the kitchen cabinet was the coagulant that served every household emergency before anyone could get to a hospital. Number 13. Blackstrap molasses for anemia. Blackstrap molasses for iron and minerals. A tablespoon of blackstrap molasses, the dark mineral-rich byproduct of sugar refining, was the supplement grandmother gave to pale and listless children, to pregnant women in their second trimester, and to anyone who seemed to be running low on something essential. A jar cost 10 cents and lasted weeks. A single tablespoon delivers approximately 3.5 milligrams of iron, nearly 20% of the daily requirement, along with significant amounts of calcium, magnesium, and potassium. For families whose diet consisted primarily of cornbread, beans, and little else, blackstrap molasses was the nutritional intervention that kept anemia from becoming acute. Still works. The jar at the health food store now costs $8 for the same compound. Number 12. Calendula oil for skin and wounds. Grandmother grew the bright orange calendula flowers in the garden and made the infused oil every autumn, dried petals packed into olive oil for 4 weeks, then strained and stored in dark bottles. That oil treated everything that came through the door. A 2009 clinical trial in the Journal of Wound Care found calendula ointment significantly outperformed petroleum jelly for acute wound healing. A 2013 oncology study found it superior to the standard pharmaceutical preparation for radiation skin damage. The oil your grandmother made from her garden was more effective than the commercial wound dressing that replaced it. An ounce of commercial calendula ointment now costs $15. She made quarts of it for the price of a glass bottle and the time it took to tend the garden. Here is the number that makes the rest of this list make sense. Between 1900 and 1930, the median American family spent less than 1% of their annual income on health care. Not because they were healthy, they were not. A doctor visit cost what a family sometimes made in a week, and the choice between medicine and food was not a philosophical question. It was arithmetic. The women who developed and maintained the remedies in this cabinet were not practicing alternative medicine. They were practicing the only medicine that was available to them. They were right far more often than the medical establishment of the era recognized, and the clinical literature of the last 40 years has been confirming that, quietly, one study at a time. Number 11. Horehound for cough. The bitter, gray-leafed plant growing behind grandmother's barn was the source of the cough medicine she made in molasses, simmered into a dark candy that slipped into a sick child's cheek and eased the racking cough within minutes. The FDA removed horehound from the approved list of cough medicine ingredients in 1989, not because it was dangerous, but because the agency required modern clinical trials that manufacturers of an inexpensive botanical had no financial incentive to fund. Herbalists who kept the tradition maintain that horehound still outperforms most commercial cough syrups. The candy your grandmother made from it cost 8 cents a batch. The commercial cough medicine that replaced it costs $8 a bottle. Number 10. Chamomile tea for anxiety and sleep. The chamomile tea your grandmother brewed at bedtime was not a comfort ritual dressed up as medicine. It was medicine. Apigenin, the primary active compound in chamomile, binds to GABA receptors in the brain, the same receptors targeted by Valium and Xanax. A randomized controlled trial in 2009 in the Journal of Clinical Psychopharmacology found chamomile extract significantly superior to placebo for generalized anxiety disorder. A 2016 follow-up study found it also significantly reduced the rate of anxiety relapse. Benzodiazepines carry FDA black box warnings for dependency and withdrawal. Chamomile has been used safely for 2,000 years. Grandmother offered it every evening after supper. She was not being gentle, she was being pharmacologically accurate. Number 9. Comfrey poultice for sprains and injuries. The knitbone plant that grew beside the back steps was grandmother's first response to a sprain, a strain, a deep bruise, or a fracture in a family that could not afford the hospital. Leaves were mashed with lard, spread thick on the injury, wrapped with torn sheeting, and changed daily. Allantoin and comfrey stimulates cell proliferation and reduces inflammation. The same compound is now in commercial wound preparations. In 2004, a randomized controlled trial in phytomedicine found comfrey root extract significantly superior to diclofenac gel for ankle sprains. The poultice from the kitchen garden outperformed a standard pharmaceutical anti-inflammatory in a controlled clinical trial. Your grandmother had the source growing beside the fence. Number 8. Lemon balm for nerves and sleep. The sprawling lemon-scented mint that grandmother refused to mow down was not decoration. It was the nerve medicine for whoever in the household was wound too tight. The child who could not settle, the woman who could not stop turning things over, the man whose hands shook. A handful of leaves brewed for 10 minutes did the trick. Rosmarinic acid in lemon balm inhibits the enzyme that breaks down GABA in the brain, increasing the calming neurotransmitter without sedating. A 2014 study in Nutrients found lemon balm significantly reduced anxiety and insomnia within 15 days. A 2003 double-blind study in psychosomatic medicine found a single dose improved mood and reduced anxiety in a dose-dependent manner. A plant costs $2 at any nursery and spreads to fill a garden bed within a season. Modern sleep supplements sell the same compound in capsule form for $22 a month. Number 7. Wild cherry bark cough syrup. The dark, thick syrup grandmother made from wild cherry bark every autumn was in the kitchen cabinet from October through March. Inner bark stripped from the black cherry tree in fall was simmered slowly with honey, then bottled and stored. Children did not refuse it because it tasted good. It worked because the compound prunicin converts during digestion to benzaldehyde, which suppresses the brainstem's cough reflex through the same mechanism as codeine in prescription cough suppressants. It was listed in the United States Pharmacopeia from 1820 through 1970, 150 years. Wild cherry flavoring was added to commercial cough medicine because patients already associated the taste with relief. The pharmaceutical industry borrowed the flavor because grandmother's original was that deeply embedded in American memory. Number 6. Valerian tincture for sleep. The dark bottle in the back of the cabinet with the root that smelled like old socks was grandmother's sleep medicine, kept for the nights that would not end, for the anxiety that nothing else would touch, and for the household members who could not come down from the day. The root was soaked in whiskey for several weeks, then strained and kept ready. American physicians prescribed valerian from 1820 until 1942. 122 years of official recognition in the United States Pharmacopeia. It was removed not because it failed, but because patentable synthetic sedatives arrived and the economics of official medicine changed. A 2021 systematic review of 60 studies confirmed valerian reduces time to fall asleep and improves sleep quality. The prescription drugs that replaced it carry FDA black box warnings for dependency and withdrawal seizures. Number 5. Echinacea tincture for immunity and early cold prevention. A dark bottle with a dropper. A few drops in water at the very first scratch in the throat or the first sign of a cold coming on. Grandmother kept echinacea because her mother had kept it, because physicians had prescribed it routinely for decades before the pharmaceutical lobby displaced botanical medicine from official practice in the 1930s. A 2015 meta-analysis of 24 randomized controlled trials found echinacea preparations reduced cold incidence by 58% and cut duration by 1.4 days. The tincture cost almost nothing to make from dried root. Commercial preparations now sell for $16 a bottle. The pharmacology is the same. Number 4. Slippery elm, second entry for the throat. It is worth returning to because grandmother used it two ways. She used it for the stomach as a gruel and for the throat as a lozenge. The dried powder was rolled into small balls with a little water and honey, then left to harden slightly. Dissolving slowly in the mouth, the mucilaginous gel coated the irritated throat lining and suppressed the coughing and swallowing pain that made illness miserable. This is exactly the mechanism used in modern throat lozenges, the demulcent action approved by the FDA. Your grandmother's kitchen contained the pharmaceutical active agent, prepared and given in its traditional form at a fraction of the cost of commercial preparations. Number 3. St. John's wort for low mood. The yellow wildflower that grandmother kept as a tincture in a dark bottle was the quiet remedy for the household member who was not quite right, who had stopped eating well, who could not find their way through grief, who moved through weeks as if the color had gone out of the world. She gave it without ceremony, the way she gave everything that worked. A Cochrane systematic review from 2008 analyzed 29 clinical trials involving 5,489 patients and concluded St. John's wort was significantly superior to placebo for major depression, comparable in efficacy to standard antidepressants, and produced significantly fewer adverse effects. In Germany, it is the most prescribed antidepressant. In America, it cannot carry a health claim on the label. Your grandmother's dark bottle contained what 5,489 patients in clinical trials later confirmed. Number 2. Fire cider. The mason jar that sat in the back of the cabinet for 4 to 6 weeks, packed with raw garlic, onion, horseradish, hot peppers, and ginger, covered in apple cider vinegar, shaken whenever someone walked past. A tablespoon at the first sign of a cold. The combination of allicin from garlic, capsaicin from peppers, volatile compounds from horseradish and ginger, and acetic acid from the vinegar created a genuine antimicrobial and circulatory stimulant. The individual ingredients cost 25 cents in Depression-era America. Modern herbalists have rebranded fire cider as an artisanal wellness product. A 16-ounce bottle sells for $22 at health food stores. Your grandmother made it in a barn. the pharmacology is identical. Number 1. The knowledge itself. Every remedy on this list lived in the kitchen cabinet because someone before your grandmother put it there and taught her what it was for. Not a book, not a label, a person, a mother, a grandmother, an aunt, a neighbor who had learned from someone before her. That chain of transmission, woman to woman, generation to generation, across kitchens in every state in America, was how the knowledge survived. It survived the Depression. It survived 2 world wars. It survived the pharmaceutical revolution of the 1950s that told a generation of women their grandmothers had been doing it wrong. Most of it held on in the back of cabinets and in the memories of the oldest people in the family. Some of it is still there. Walk into the kitchen of anyone over 70 and ask what their grandmother kept in the cabinet. Write down what they tell you, because this knowledge is 1 generation from silence, and it deserves better than that. Cures. From 30 kitchen cabinets across 30 generations of American women who knew things that took laboratories decades to confirm. Ask your grandmother what she remembers. And the next time you walk past the weed growing in your yard, the plant in the garden you almost pulled, the jar at the back of the pantry that nobody has touched in years, stop. Ask what it is. You might be standing in front of a pharmacy that does not charge a copay.